It's interesting that the Ayatollah would come out and essentially say, he's the supreme leader of Iran, and say to his people that, look, enough is enough with the protests, election was fair and square. So this comes down to a showdown. The supreme leader saying it's over, essentially stop protesting, but will there still be protests? There are some that are scheduled for tomorrow. Let's bring Ivan Watson into this question. I mean, this thing really is shaping up to be a bit of a showdown. This guy's the most important man in the country. He's revered for spiritual reasons, not for political reasons. Where's this heading?
Well, he said he's not going to tolerate street protests, that they're illegal, and anybody who organizes them, they're going to be held accountable before the law. And the protesters, the opposition leaders, say they're going to hold a rally tomorrow.
But the government, it seems, at least by, if nothing else, Tiananmen Square standards, has been pretty tolerant up to now. Are there indications as a result of the Ayatollah's speech that everything will change, that suddenly they're going to go out there and brutally stop these people?
I think his speech was pretty chilling today. It was attended by the pro-government militia, who are known to be shock troops for the Islamic regime. We do know over the course of the week that they've been rounding up dozens of activists and political dissidents around the city at night, separate from the protests. So if I was one of these demonstrators, if I was one of the opposition leaders, I'd be worried right now.
What are you hearing from them? I understand that you've just been receiving some information. Right. I saw somebody hand you a note. What are you learning?
This is from one of our trusted sources in Tehran, and he's just describing that these militia, pro-government militia called Basiji, who are really known to use force, clubs, chains, whatever, on the political opposition.
Thuggery? You could use that word.
They're supported by the state, though.
Yeah.
They have set up checkpoints. They're searching cars. They're looking for what he called troublemakers. And despite that, you're still getting people on the rooftops yelling, Allahu Akbar, God is great. And that's seen as a sign of dissent against the regime.
If not even stronger than dissent, defiance in this case.
Exactly. Right.
Hamid Dabashi is a professor at Columbia University. He's an expert on this topic. Let's bring him in because he knows about Ayatollah Khamenei and can tell us. Does this guy mean business, Professor?
Unfortunately, yes, Rick. But as just Ivan told you, just before I came here, I also had phone calls, people knowing that I'll be on the line soon, insisting to tell me that within hours after his speech, people have followed the habitual going to the rooftops and screaming on the top of their head, Allahu Akbar, which means God is great, but in this case has become a symbol of defiance. It is a very scary and dangerous situation. They have cracked down on foreign correspondents. They have cracked down on Facebook, on Twitter. And then also they have arrested a number of known suspects of the reformists. So the situation is quite dangerous.
Professor, what do Americans need to know about this fella Khamenei? Because I don't think we have his equal in our government.
No, fortunately, you don't. You don't have that. That is maybe Reverend Jerry Falwell. If he had his way, he would have been Ayatollah Khamenei.
Is he like the Pope and the President all in one?
No, he doesn't have the president. Before, I mean, you don't need to assimilate him backward. He has political authority, supreme political authority, and supreme religious authority. But also, he has revolutionary credentials. He was very close to Ayatollah Khomeini. He was a target of assassination. He was the president of Iran during the Iran-Iraq War between 1980 and 1988. So he is one of the...
So he has the power of our Supreme Court, sir. Then he could basically say tomorrow, you know what? There are too many people who are dissatisfied. Let's do this election all over again. He could say that.
Not really. It is very important not to turn him into an absolute tyrant that whatever he says goes. First of all, notice that within hours after he says put an end to these demonstrations, people out are demonstrating. But even without that, within the structure of the Islamic Republic, there are multiplicities of sources of forces. And he is not juridically, Shi'i juridical establishment is very hierarchical and it is very, very strict. And he, in fact, the Ayatollah Khomeini, just a year before his death, he ordered a redrafting of the constitution in a manner that he would be allowed to become the supreme leader. So he is not in a position to issue religious edicts.
Well, I'm a little confused then. Any one of you guys, Ivan or Professor, can perhaps answer this question for us. I think people at home want to know what happens tomorrow. How big a blow would it be to him if 500,000 people take to the streets and protest, despite the fact they were told not to in an act of defiance? What happens?
If I may say so, it would be a great blow. and also extremely dangerous, Rick. It is very important to understand the gravity of the situation. He means business. He has told in no uncertain terms to the oppositional leader, to Mousavi in particular, pack these demonstrators, take them back home. There will be bloodshed, and the blood is on your hand.
Good Lord. Professor, thanks so much for sharing your expertise with us, sir. We appreciate it. Ivan, let me bring you back into the discussion. What are we hearing from Ahmadinejad? I heard that there was a quote he had released earlier in the week where he referred to the people protesting as dust. I don't imagine that was good word choice.
No, and it made a lot of people very angry, and it probably helped push people out on the streets to protest. We saw him on Iranian state TV yesterday, and his language had completely changed. He claimed that the media had misunderstood his comments, and he called for unity. He said, we're all brothers, we're all friends, and everybody was a winner in last Friday's contentious elections.